Every time I walk into a showroom, scan the internet for some inspiration, I always see pot plants elevated off the ground or suspended from the ceiling. So in this DIY, we're going to show you how to make these pot plant stands. It really is simple. The most important dimension is the gap in between the legs here. I've used the diameter of the pot, which is 175, and I've added 5 mils. Now these two legs are interlocking, so it's really simple and easy to make. Now you can adjust them to any size you want to suit your pot and to the style and height that you require. As these pots are quite lightweight, I'm using a 44 by 22 timber. You can upsize that to suit your pot size. I bought a standard length and I've got builders to cut it all to size for me. That way there's no mistakes and it's cut out all the hard part. As for additional tools that I'm using, I've got a jigsaw, which I'm going to be using to cut out the slot in the timber. I've got a sander, a cordless drill, a pencil, a speed pilot, which is a drill and a countersink in one. I've got my measuring tool, a scraper, small hammer, some wood filler, some wood glue, some screws, a tape measure, a clamp, and I've got some wood stain, which I'm going to stain the timber up to create a different look. The first thing we are going to do is cut this little slot in the center for the two pieces to interlock into each other, and that's these cross pieces that I'm going to use. Remember, I've gone for the diameter of the pot, which is 175 on this pot plus 10 mils, so I've gone for 185 on this. So I need 2 cross braces and 4 pieces for the legs. If you have got offcuts left over, it's nice to make a third cross piece as well, as we're going to use this as a spacer and it helps keep your legs straight when joining it together. I've gone for a 500 height because I've got a 400 and I've got a 600, and I think the staggered look will look really cool. Let's clear the table and let's get started. Okay, so here are my cross pieces. I'm going to mark out to the center point and then offset to allow for the thickness, and that's going to be my first groove. When using standard size timber, just double check the thickness and the width because it can vary, especially after it's left the factory where it's being machined. So there's my cutting line for my slots. Now I'm only going to go down halfway on each one. Remember, we want to keep one side and cut off the other. Keep one and cut off the other. I'm going to be using a jigsaw to cut out these slots. You can use a handsaw, a miter box, and a chisel if you want to. Okay, there's my cross piece, and it's a nice snug tight fit that works well. Pull that out, and it's now time to join the legs on these sides. Remember, when you are joining those legs, you're going to have one up and one down. Often you can make that mistake. I've done it plenty of times myself. Okay, right, legs over. Put them into place. There's one. There's another one. Now you're going to decide now how long or how high you actually want those legs to go up. I'm just going to go for a 120. It's just going up slightly on the edge. You can take it all the way to the top of the pot. It's entirely up to you. Okay, now all 4 legs need to be the same. So it's a good idea to get all 4 together now and then just make your line, and that way you're not going to make any mistakes. So we'll just bring this up square. Okay, there's my sight lines, and I've got X marks the spot of where I need to drill. Let's put all 4 together, and I'm going to use a speed pilot. And what that does, it drills a clearance hole for my screw as well as a countersink at the top as well. So it's basically 2 actions in one. Now when drilling through quite a deep piece of timber like this, always try and make sure that you keep that drill as central and level as possible. I'm using for this project a 75mm screw. I've got 44 here, and that should give me, once it's countersunk, more than enough meat to bite in. I'm also going to be using wood glue in between the mating surfaces, so that's going to hold that joint as well. Now I mentioned a third piece earlier. That's going to go on the end just to hold into position so that when I clamp it together, it doesn't kind of collapse on itself. So it's going to act as a support. We are going to remove it once we've assembled this together. Okay, with that hold down in position, hold tight on that cross base and that leg, and then just drive that screw all the way through into the timber. Take out that cross brace, put that one aside, and start the next one. Exactly the same procedure. Line it up with your lines, screw hole on the outside. Now this is where you can make the mistake. Make sure you get it the right way around, or should I say the other way around, because you want those two to interlock into each other. Whilst that's drying, I'm going to fill these holes with some wood filler. Once they're dry, we're going to sand them down and carry on with the DIY. My wood filler's dry, the glue's dry. I'm going to sand these down using a 120 grit sandpaper. Pop it onto my orbital sander. You can sand this by hand if you want, but it is much easier with an electric sander. Sanding is done. I'm going to stain it up with some Rust-Oleum wood stain. Always a good idea to wear some protective gloves, as this stain kind of does actually get everywhere, and I don't want my fingers stained, especially before the weekend. Now with this particular stain, I like to use a soft rag to apply it and really rub it into the timber so it penetrates well. That way also you also rub off any excess, and you'll see just a little bit really does go a long way. One of the main reasons of sanding the timber before you stain is just to ensure that you remove any resins. Often it has actually come out from the factory, and there's enough resin there to actually stop your stain from adhering to the timber. So you just give it a light sand and it helps that stain penetrate better, and you get a better color and a better depth. My stain is dry. Just interconnect these two pieces together, and my pot stand is complete. Simple and easy to do. Let's put our pot in. Just double check everything's looking okay. There you have it, the DIY is complete. That was simple and easy. You can definitely do this yourself at home. Choose different sizes, play around, have some fun, create an awesome feature, and add character to your home and your existing pot plants that you have. That's it from this DIY guy. Over to you. Most important thing, be amazing, love the DIY, and enjoy the DIY therapy. If you enjoyed this clip, like it, share it. You can also subscribe to our Builders Fan YouTube channel, where there's a range of DIYs just like this, as well as product reviews.